Hello and welcome back to the Welsh Women's Rugby Appreciation Podcast. My name is Hugh and I am joined by the usual cast of captains and doctors, Harley, Julia, and Sean. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Hello.
In
Howdy.
this podcast, we will be reviewing the latest dramas from the Welsh Women's National Team. We'll be checking in with the PWR and we'll be looking ahead to the second season of the Celtic Challenge. Let's start the show. All right, so how is everybody? There's been how long has it been since we last talked? Obviously, our last podcast was the traumatic one following this big scandal. Is everyone feeling better now?
Which scandal?
The
The most recent bad one.
The most recent scandal.
The one
Yeah,
about the
right.
WRU. No,
I'm feeling great that there hasn't been another one since the last time we podcasted.
Yeah,
Really
there-
Give
feeling
it time.
There also hasn't
I
been any Welsh women's rugby.
There
So-
hasn't been any Welsh women's rugby. There hasn't also been any key announcements we're waiting for.
No.
Really...
So getting into the first bits of news then. So I guess the most recent bit of news that we have is Wales are off to Australia. So in the warm-up to next year's World Cup, which is being played in England, we're getting on a plane and flying to Australia for a couple of weeks and then flying back. What's everybody's thoughts on this? Are we in favour of this trip? Do we think this is good prep for a World Cup? What are we saying? Anybody?
Yeah.
All right.
I-
So, please.
No. I mean, when I first heard the news, I was kind of a little bit surprised that we're going to Australia.
Again.
It seemed, yeah. I mean, part of me was wondering whether there had been some agreement with Australia when we played them before the WXV. We'll play you in this warm-up game, so we'll play out in Australia.
That's actually not
back.
That's not a bad idea. That would honestly be one of the only ways that I could understand it, because otherwise, I mean, it truly is the absolute worst thing that you could do for elite athletes is to fly them literally across the
You know what
planet,
helps with winning World Cups?
Agreed.
Jet lag.
being tired and
exactly.
being tired and
Exactly.
being 13 hours ahead or whatever it is from the UK. But
they're coming over here anyway for the
and by the way, so what we're going to do is
or something. Do we have their plane? Do we have to take it and drop it off?
that must
I
be
did
it.
see they did mention about the Lions tour going on at the same time, and was there thinking that they wanted to try and
Just
I don't know, was
pop 'em with
that
them.
did they think that more people out for the Lions tour might go and watch the games? Is that what they're I'm not really sure what the thinking was.
Oh, that's true. If people are going out anyway, I guess that kind of
Exactly.
makes sense. Honestly, well, no, what you just said made me go in another direction that I only just considered, so it's only a half-baked thought. But I am thinking a little bit about I mean, I was going to call it a press release, but it's not really what happened. When the Aussie girls themselves put out that statement via Instagram across all of it about how unequal the treatment was, especially regarding travel and the amenities related to travel for an elite athlete that the men were getting, and even wives and girlfriends were getting, which we can talk about the merits of that another time, but the vast difference in what they were getting already. And I mean, I would assume Rugby Australia has to be worried at least a little bit about the visuals there. I'm not sure. I don't.
They've had some bad visuals.
That's the thing, is that maybe it's just maybe it's just Wales owed them a favor anyway, which is true. I didn't think about that. They came for the warm-ups.
This is what I want to get into. Who in Rugby Australia is best mates with someone in the WRU? Because
I have no idea who it could have been.
Wales men play Australia about 3 times a year, every single year.
They love it.
I can't think of an Australian. I can't think of an Australian in a high position at Welsh rugby at all.
So I'm sick of the sight of Australia, mostly because they always beat us.
So are all the men's senior players.
And now Wales women played them twice last year, and now we're going to play them 3 times next year.
Yeah.
Not to mention WXV, depending on where everybody ends up. Well, it won't be next year because of the World Cup, but and we're in a pool with them.
No, yeah. I double check. We're not in
the pool. We're not in the pool.
We're in pool.
Because I thought the same, because I always assume that we're in a pool with them, or
because we've always been.
But actually, it's just Fiji this year. Okay. But I think, aren't we playing the day
but
before?
I think we're in with
the
Scotland.
Lions match.
Yeah, we are in with Scotland.
I think we're playing the night before or the day before the Lions match, and maybe the women. So I don't know if they've done that on purpose, thinking that there's going to be fans out there and they'll get a bigger crowd, whatever.
I mean, I'd be my usual cynical self for a second.
Okay.
Yep.
We're not going to have many Welsh players. Let's be honest. There's not going to be many men's Welsh players on the tour.
Agreed.
So the
Right.
WRU don't have a legitimate reason to have their jolly out to the Lions. So by
And-
putting the
and
women's
also-
tour out,
Fair
they can go
point.
and watch the Lions. So I
And
think
the,
it's actually the other way
and
around.
the time will probably be shitty for UK people to watch either, because it's shitty when it's in Australia.
Australia's not too bad actually as a
Oh,
time. It's
is it
probably a
not?
little bit. It's not as horrifically early as it would be in New Zealand. It's
Oh,
still more.
okay.
It's breakfast rugby.
Breakfast rugby.
Yeah, which is 2 a.m. rugby for me.
I get the idea that we need warm-up games because we probably
Yeah.
do, but I just
Oh.
think of out of all of the teams in the world, like, couldn't we just pick a team closer to home?
Well, that's the thing, and we were talking about that within our chatting chat. I don't mean to be the same guy that I always am, beating it over and over, but like, do you know how close America and Canada are? You had a lot of fun when you toured. Well, they loved touring
I can
Canada,
tell you,
and Canada.
most of the America team are 2 hours away.
Yeah, but at the time when all of this will be happening, no, they'll all be back in America training for the same thing.
That seems a bit daft. I would have got a training base down in.
Okay,
USA.
then that's insane inequity, and that means that nobody who's playing domestically should be allowed to play for the
Also,
Eagles. That's insane.
No, well, they should.
also Australia
They'll be
battered us.
fine.
for
They
teams out of
they
camp.
get paid absolutely no money. They'll be fine.
Also, Australia battered us like just recently. So, and that wasn't even in Australia. So, is it just the
We also
continual?
won one. Not
We did
well,
beat
but
them
we won
in we
In
beat them at
Newport.
Rodney Parade.
at the
but-
warm up. That didn't count.
It's just
We
this.
lost when it didn't. We lost when it mattered and won when it didn't count.
Yeah.
And
So
Yap
it's
that-
just the
Yap
continual
admitted she held
buying.
back for that game.
The continual buying in that someone at the WRU has of, if you just get battered enough, eventually you'll be good, which a lot of people in rugby seem to believe at the moment, and it's just not true.
But that was a lot of what we were fed.
Yeah.
Wales fans for a while really were, and I even remember talking specifically about that. I think it might have been one of the few things we all discussed together about whether there is merit to that. That at one point, isn't it kind of diminishing returns to just keep throwing your girls into a meat
Look at the
grinder?
results. The results don't matter.
That's
or
yes,
the
yes.
scoreline
Thank you.
don't matter
Thank
and all
you.
that kind of stuff.
Perfect. That's what it was. Yes, exactly that. And I do think that we concluded that like there is probably a point on the graph where getting the shit beat out of you, whether at home or abroad, and abroad is even worse. Just in terms of like the timing and the stuff that does to your body, having to fly back and forth. But
The issue I had with that was the fact that we weren't just getting beaten; we were playing like crap. I mean, we weren't really showing anything.
and there's
If you're going to say that, you've got to at least show that you're like learning,
Exactly.
and developing, and playing different kind of style or whatever. A game plan. It didn't look like we had a game plan. So
and there's the unwritten and there's an unwritten implication for it right now as we speak, which we're going to talk about. So we're not going to touch on it now, but in terms of anticipating how this could go, we don't have a coach right now. How ready could we feasibly be?
Yeah. So
Regardless.
let's talk about that now. So has anybody? All right. So I guess since we last time we spoke,
Haven't heard
Ioan
a goddamn
Cunningham
thing.
hadn't been sacked. So he's been sacked since. Before we talk
Because
about
of the pod, friends of the pod, WRU.
because we'll talk about what next in a moment, but ever since he got sacked, sort of from the moment, there was a narrative from, let's be honest, men's rugby creators saying Ioan Cunningham was a good bloke, he's been thrown under the bus here, he did nothing wrong.
I saw that again today, by the way.
Yeah, and I've seen it from, I don't know Ioan Cunningham, I've never met him. Maybe he would be very nice to me. I've got no idea. I'm sure he would be, but the report as laid out in the Telegraph did not
Is that he bullied his players?
suggest that he was innocent. So I don't know, what do we make of that narrative, the kind of spinning that's happened since Ioan Cunningham left?
I mean, for me, it's a bit more wider metaphysical point anyway. It's this whole thing of everything needs to be black and white. People can't accept any shade of grey or nuance.
Yes.
It's either Ioan Cunningham was a good man or Ioan Cunningham was evil. It's not. He probably was a good player. A lot of the players stuck up for him and they thought he was genuinely nice and helping us in need. but he did bully them, and he was part of the WRU system, which put an immense amount of pressure on these women's contracts to say, so yes, he is guilty. He did deserve the carry of the can, but also it's not just him. People, and we were calling it when the news broke out. If anything, everyone involved in that system should be out because, frankly, it was all disgusting.
And one of the few things that really everybody seemed to come together around, especially other women's players. We spoke about how Jem Hallett spoke about it, but there were 3 heads to this Kerberos, and one has gone great. One of them is kind of like, it's Abby Tierney, because you oversaw it, you should go. And then the one that I feel like people are having the most trouble wrapping their heads around is Nigel Walker. I admit that I don't know the history the way a lot of people do, and I know that he's built up a lot of goodwill in Wales, and I'm sure that he had a storied past and everything. That's great. However, according to all of the reports, he was the ringmaster of this.
He's kind of disappeared.
And
he's not allowed to talk anymore.
And I mean, that's one way to skirt accountability, I guess. But is that what you want to do right now? And I understand that WRU has already said yes, but I wish that they would ask themselves, are you sure?
So Richard Collier-Keywood and Abby Tierney were up in front of the synod explaining themselves.
Why wasn't Nigel
They
Walker there?
they said it was enough for those 2 to be there. It wasn't necessarily for
said.
3 of them to be there. That's what they said.
That's what they said. I know.
That doesn't feel right.
I'm just echoing it because that is what they said. And we love to sometimes clown on some of the men's fans who don't get it. But I did see that as a rallying point where all of them uniformly were like, really? Nothing with Nige? No.
The last point I'll make on Ioan Cunningham is like, let's not rewrite history. We all wanted a new coach anyway. Let's just be brutally honest about it. The team was playing extremely badly, and we were all fed up.
We were going backwards.
Yes. And that can be done completely separately from what you're doing outside of the training facility.
So even if this scandal had never happened, it could have been the right thing to get rid of Ioan Cunningham anyway.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a moot point. Okay, then. So has anyone heard any rumours whatsoever? We are now 100 days since Ioan Cunningham was sacked.
So there've been a couple of bits. So I mean, I'm gonna
please
basically steal off Nick Heath and Philippa Tuttiett from the Power Pod here, but when they interviewed I've just, his name's just gone out of my head. The Gloucester head coach.
Sean Lynn.
Sean Lynn, yeah. But brain just completely faded. They interviewed him, and when they asked him about the Wales job, he basically didn't say no and was quite. So it says to me that the WRU have approached him. I'm not saying he's definitely got it or anything like that, but he's definitely been approached.
No, it's very interesting.
I think it's
very interesting though.
A BBC article about it when he mentioned it. I thought that was interesting. His reply or what he was saying.
He said he
kind of said the same.
Asked.
He did, but he also made it out as if he did want that, and it was about I'd have to ask the right questions and all this kind of stuff.
That's what he said. He said that I could see international coaching being in the cards for me, but you have to ask the right. It was something along the lines of you have to ask the right things. I honestly, the ways that he's responded, and I understand that article was after the first time that he spoke, and I believe that the first time that he was asked was on, we're throwing out names, was on Good Scaz Rugby when they had him, and he told them that they hadn't approached him, he wasn't thinking about it or whatever, he was committed to Gloucester, and of course Mo Hunt was sitting right there. I'm sure he had a reason to say that. And of course, lots of Gloucester Hartbury girls are on all the time. And by the way, for listeners, if you haven't seen, they've been doing a fantastic series, the Empower series with some of our girls, including Alicia and Kelsey. It's been great. But anyway, they did talk to Sean. He said at that time that he hadn't been asked. He kind of danced around it. We would be remiss if we didn't bring up Rachel Taylor. Obviously a name that has been in conversation. The closest that we've gotten, and I fancy myself an intrepid journalist. I'm not. But I fancy myself because I did tweet her in her conversation with Jem, a person she played with, and then me, Julia. But I jumped in and I was just like, I'd be silly not to ask because her message to everybody was, I have not gotten the right apologies. She was part of the initial report. I think 2021 was that initial report, but she was one of the unnamed and then later named complainants. She had been some sort of assistant coach. Sean can correct me here.
She was made assistant coach. Yep.
Yeah.
And she left in that big wave of people who are just like, I can't do this anymore. I think an apology would have to probably come from Nigel, the way that she was talking, and I don't think that'll happen. So I don't know about that. And the one last name that had been thrown around was Kat Nicholas a lot. But I mean, she just got named the head coach for, who was it? It was either Brython or Gwalia. But she's the head coach.
Gwalia,
I think it's
Gwalia.
Gwalia.
Because
yeah.
Ashley Beck has
our
is currently
friend
head coach
Ashley.
Right,
of
because
Bristol.
Ashley, I was gonna say it's one of
National
Ashley
Performance
Beck's
Director.
several
Will
teams.
soon probably be head coach anyway.
I was just gonna say the last one, the last name in the conversation, Ashley Beck. No, but joking aside, those are the
Friend
names
of the
that I
pod.
heard.
Follows
And
us
then
on Twitter.
That's
Probably
right.
because when he searches his own name on Twitter, it's all from us.
What? He's like, who are any of these people? By the way, I've never heard of any of them.
The pod that
Oh,
formerly
guy.
had
I feel
250 podcast formerly had 250 followers on Twitter, and then there was a bot
That's
column
right.
that only had 100.
Sorry,
come
Ashley.
on, come on. We could have had. We had more than that. It's fine. That's good.
Go on, Sharon.
But yeah, no, those are the only ones that I had
And
heard. Bandy.
obviously, Dave.
Oh,
Ward,
right, yes, of course, Dave
He's
Ward.
outright said
completely
no, though.
is out.
There's no way.
signing
Well,
a
he's
contract
realised he
with them.
can't employ Abby Ward.
Well, he
can't play
can't.
Abby.
Okay.
I don't know how
Okay.
serious he would have been a contender, though. Really,
Okay, so that's what I was going to say. Is jokes aside, I really don't think that he would have been that serious. I mean,
I agree.
he's deeply English. I just think it wouldn't have been a good
I
look.
don't even think it's that. I think it's.
Oh,
I think
really?
his name was bandied about because
He's a
Bears
great
have so many
women's
Welsh
coach.
players,
Yeah,
and Bears, and he's a really good coach. And I think that
he's a really good coach.
I think people put 1 and 1 together and are getting 25. I don't think I was ever
well,
likelihood that he would want to coach
and
Wales.
you know, not that it's the best reason or anything, but just that I really do think that WRU would be so tunnel visioned that also like he's the closest. Like, you just come.
I maintain we should all buy dry
Take all
robes
the
and hang
reach.
around outside.
Yes, exactly. And I think that if we did it, or if one of us stood on the shoulders of another one, because like Sean and I aren't that tall, like we could just look like a full adult. They would hire one of us.
This is when one of us needs a clipboard, the other one needs a headset, and they go, "You guys
Dry
are like
robe.
coaches. Are you busy?"
That's what I was
Got a
saying
dry
when I was,
robe.
when I was watching Alicia Butchers doing the coaching for the line out. I was like, God, I really do miss walking behind a line out like this. Looking. I miss it so much from coaching
Rod
college,
Gilbert
which I
actually
do.
Rod Gilbert, who's a Welsh comedian, did a TV show where he just tried different jobs, and one of the jobs he tried was rugby coach, and he
Yeah.
coached Welsh women. And then he said, like,
Oh.
after 10 minutes,
Oh,
he was like, "I've got it. All you have to do is walk up and down the touchline and go, 'Good work. That's right. Good. Well done.'"
Good
You
hands,
need to
good
watch
hands.
this episode.
Yeah.
You need to watch this episode, Julia.
I absolutely will. That sounds great.
I-
I also love that kind of show, so that's already.
And then they did,
I mean,
like,
He's
they
very
interviewed
funny.
one of the-
Ron
Yeah, I was
Jagged's
gonna say I
work
love
is
it when
brilliant.
people try different stuff.
They interviewed
that's
one
my
of the
jam.
girls afterwards, and they were like, "What do you think of Rod's coaching?" And she was like, "You didn't give us very much detailed feedback. He just told us we
I
were
don't
all
think he's
doing a
ever
good
seen
job."
rugby.
I mean,
I
make
think
Rod
he's
Gilbert head
admitted he's
coach
not
of Wales.
While
Yeah.
I'm here, who is Gary Barlow?
He's
Do
the
you-
fat one from
Oh,
Take That.
where did that come from?
Do you not have
I'll
Take
tell
That?
you. No, we don't have Take That. Oh my God. Didn't I
Oh my
just
God.
Sean, show you? Didn't I just show you when they were doing the Sail Sharks were doing a quiz and they were it was Sail Sharks. They were doing the thing where you take the trivia where you take a piece away, and they asked for Take That, and neither of the players were British, so they were like, "What's Take That?" Anyway, no,
my
I
God.
don't know who that is, and I ask because on that episode of Good Scaz Rugby with Alicia and Snowy and somebody I don't know who I feel very bad about, when they were doing that, Alicia said, "I'll be Gary Barlow." So I don't know what that is, but
He's the
that would
one
be
from
me.
Take That wrote all the tunes. So it's complicated. Long story
Oh,
short,
I understand. They
it
were
was
all
a-
being a band.
it was a
Okay.
90s boy band,
Yeah.
like Backstreet Boys.
1992, I had the cassette. Can I just say, I did have the cassette tape.
I
The
was
Girls and
born.
Dairy
You know?
Girls. Girls and Dairy
All
Girls
right,
go to their
all
concert.
Yeah, and then so they're
Nailed
all
it.
there, and then there was one called Robbie, and he left, and it was a big drama, and then he went on and became really famous. If you haven't seen Robbie Williams live at
Is that
Nebworth,
Robbie Williams? Okay, so
Yeah.
yes, I
Yes.
do know some people from Take That. I did know Robbie Williams was in a boy band.
no, there's basically only
okay.
him and Gary Barlow. The other three are
Okay.
kind of faceless, nameless. But yeah. So I guess, Julia, if there's one piece of homework you can have is get in to Take That.
Yeah.
I'm led to believe they're quite catchy. So
Yeah.
No,
Awful.
but before that, Rod Gilbert's work experience. I'm quite impressed because there's one where he's a wedding planner, and the room he plans the reception in is where me and my wife got married. So that's something that always
Aw.
makes
He did
smile.
such a good job. You were like, he's right. That's a good place to get married.
Oh,
gonna
it's,
get
this
married
came
with
out after
Rod
our
Gilbert.
marriage.
I'm
It's
gonna
kind of-
ask Rod Gilbert.
yeah.
But that is exactly where we're at, where we're just like asking anybody for going all the way back to standing outside
So-
with a dry robe. It could be.
That could be a
It might be
challenge
Gary
on
Barlow.
Taskmaster.
Could be
Get
Gary
Wales
Barlow.
women to win a game.
Thank you. Oh, see, that's hard. That's mean. No, the Taskmaster could be you have like 60 to 90 minutes to pick a new head coach, and you have to interview.
Oh no, don't do that. They'll literally just pick someone off the street.
It couldn't get
It'll
any
be,
worse.
it'll be
Saying that's
James
a
A. It'll be
fun
James
thing.
Acaster.
But
It'll be fun.
so going back to that interview between Snowy and
Yeah.
Alicia, I thought it was quite
It was a
interesting
really-
because
it was a really great interview.
they seem to disagree with
Mm.
what they want, which is like obviously because Snowy's
And-
because obviously Alicia's a current player.
I
Yeah,
think
but,
Alicia's matters more.
So you don't think, because obviously Snowy is one of the people who people wouldn't mind seeing involved in the Wales
Yes.
setup.
And I still say that.
So Snowy said that she doesn't think it needs to be someone who's coached women before.
She said it doesn't matter, she thinks, and she was making a point about emotional intelligence, which is true. I strongly disagree. I think at this point it has to be somebody who has at least coached women. It doesn't have to be that you've coached another international team, although those people also exist. But
I think
at this juncture, not knowing how to coach women, because coaching women is different than coaching men. I understand that
Yeah.
Snowy is from a different generation. She's from my generation, and a lot of former teammates of mine would probably say the same thing, because all of
I
our
can imagine it
coaches were
being-
all not experienced.
I can imagine it being extremely intimidating for some men going to do it. Like Scotland's coach, I've got huge admiration for because he seemed to have pulled off
Brian
something
Eason.
very impressive there. But I can imagine for a lot of men, if you've only been around men's rugby teams and you have to go into a women's rugby team environment, I can imagine that is very like you might not know how to behave in that kind of environment. I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know.
You're
but-
absolutely right, but I think about people like Sean Lynn or Dave Ward, both of whom only came from coaching men, or in Dave's case, playing professionally. You have to be brave, and you have to take your licks. You're gonna screw up. Everybody is.
My take on this is I think it does need to be someone who's proven, because right now I don't think we can actually afford to pick someone. We're only going to know until they're in the job. And if it's someone who hasn't got that proven background, I mean, okay, still might.
And we don't have
fail,
time.
but we just can't, we need to cut out the chances of that happening. And I think that's why we do need someone who is proven.
If
we can't,
if we were 2 years out, I'd agree with Snowy, but we're not.
Exactly. If this was a few years ago, then yeah, but I don't know. I don't think we've got the time now. We're going backwards so much, and other teams are going forward. We're going to get really far behind.
And what I would challenge is, and I can understand that there's a chance that I am just wrong when I say this, but in my opinion, I think the next person they bring, and this is also something to touch on in that interview, there needs to be a level of trust like day one. It just needs to be somebody that you at least, I hate to say, like, you need to have some goodwill in rugby, in women's rugby. Even if you haven't been like a head coach somewhere, I don't know, just somebody that you can trust won't do this. That you can trust this won't happen.
It's political as well, though, because it'll be the WRU's person. You know, Gatland in the men's team is the WRU's man, and I mean,
this will be a big deal no matter what.
If you're taking, how cynical do you want to be? If they employ a woman, the woman's more likely to be on the player's side. Is that
which is
unfair?
what they'll say?
So
I wonder, and then also there's the paradox of, it would be great, and they touched on this a little bit as well. It would be great if it's somebody with experience in Welsh rugby. Of course it would. If it's a Welsh person, that would be even better. But are we sure that the best person possible would have those qualifications? We don't know. I would argue maybe there's more flexibility there. Maybe you have to look outside of Wales. I would love it to be Sioan or Snowy. Of course I would. I don't think it will be. And I don't know who else could fit that bill and wouldn't end up being overly politicized.
Agreed.
I would love it if it
go.
was
Not for me. It's not so necessarily important if the head coach is someone who's experienced women before. If you're building in the same way that it doesn't matter that head coach has never coached attack before to make a team work, because
Absolutely.
you just make sure they've got a good attack coach. So if it's someone who's just very good at getting a high performance system, taking some youth and bringing through, if it's someone with a history of developing, right, we're trying to get through some new talent, great. And then you bring in someone like a Sioan or a Snowy, who's someone who can help and is that
unite the team,
that face to the team. And again, then you don't have to, that person folks, this, which is one of the things I think that fell down in Ioan's reign, is I felt like there was no one there who was a good attack coach. There was nothing there and that's where that
there wasn't specialization of labor.
And I mean, that's only going to come if the WRU actually start sticking their hand in their pocket, which is something they desperately need to do, because
that's really what I'm worried about. Honestly,
I have no confidence.
You can't just have.
I'm worried that the choice is going to. I am worried that the choice is going to be an economy choice.
I'm convinced it will be.
Yeah.
which is going to be bad.
It would be super fun if they hired Alice Sofa for the 2 weeks that would last.
That'd be fantastic.
It would
and Alice, although me and Alice would only together make the most amazing pack in the world, and then both of us would be like, what do they do? The backs, what do they do? I don't.
It doesn't matter.
We weren't built for this.
The difference at the moment.
But no, I mean, you make such a good point, and I didn't know if I could. I'm really glad you did. I hope that I wasn't stepping out of bounds, but and this is just because the Bears is what I know the best. But truly, Dave Ward is a I would die for these Bears. He is a career front rower. He is a career hooker. And I do think that the reason that the back line is so great at Bears is not because of Dave, it's because of Tom Luke. And if you have that kind of amazing 1-2, it really doesn't matter.
A lot of coaches do come as teams and as pairs.
And I think that makes a really great point. Or I think that makes a really great support for Harley's point. I think that honestly, a dynamic team could even instill more confidence, I guess, from an outsider. It would all depend on what the girls think of those people, of course. But to the outside looking in, it would look like you're taking this seriously, and it would look like you didn't go outside cap and get the first two people you saw in a dry robe.
Yeah. All right, let's stop talking about that plan. Someone else might do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so congratulations, Ashley Beck, on your appointment. So Celtic Challenge preview then. Brython Thunder and Gwalia Lightning play each other at time of recording in 9 days. What do we think of the rosters?
I'm loving it. I think Karen Lake is going to absolutely walk over the empty field of Brython Thunder.
I'm really excited. Well, I'm really excited to see Karen Lake playing Fionn Lewis and question marks.
Do we know Fionn Lewis is even in?
We don't know. Okay, you're right. You're right that we don't know Fionn. Fionn, friend of the pod. Fionn, friend of the pod. No, I am just guessing based off of being a very apt social media consumer.
An internet sleuth.
Yes.
It would be nice if we had the squads, wouldn't it?
Or really social media, or just the WRU acknowledging something other than some games that
if they had accounts.
6 weeks' time.
We have Scotland, the two teams from Scotland, and they're both affiliated, just for new listeners or people new to Celtic Challenge. Scotland has affiliated their two teams with two major teams, Edinburgh and Glasgow.
It is easier for them, to be fair.
It is. No. I'm going in a very positive direction. They've killed it. In my opinion, I think having the might. Having the might of those two teams behind them has been really great. It seems like there's a lot of it seems like there's a genuine buy-in though from the clubs, even if they aren't guaranteed a win, which is nice because we have felt very often in women's rugby that a lot of the feverish support, and certainly as an American fan and of American rugby as well, it often feels like everything is hinged on what we did most recently, and it's really nice to see that sort of buy-in. Ireland is doing their own thing, but even still, they're putting out bigger squads. You know, we were just told this morning on the podcast Twitter that it's possible Brython had a meeting and put out a wider thing, but then we found out it wasn't in the media, and we don't actually have that list. And it's 9 days out. How?
It's just weird.
It's not great, and it makes you wonder, because of course, since there are no rosters, we also aren't seeing footage of them training like we are for all the other teams.
Yeah, training footage.
To be honest,
cool.
It just makes us. I do think it makes the Welsh teams just look a bit.
It looks
floppy.
amateur.
It looks really amateur. Really amateur.
And
it is disappointing.
And as much as we would like to dump on them, we do know that they are doing something, and we only know that because, like, we know that somebody would make a fuss otherwise. Because,
well, obviously there was a press. There was a press release today about Karen Lake, because she's playing for Gwalia. Amazing, great. It was really nice to have some news and have some sound bites and all that kind of stuff. And there was talk about, she's going to join this talented squad, and we're like, what squad?
Who?
You don't know the squad. You haven't told us the squad.
We know the coaches, and that's it.
We know the coaches, and we know Karen. It's not looking good.
I mean, that would be the perfect time to release the rest of the squad.
Exactly.
And that's the thing is
here is our figurehead star player.
This would be free good vibes and feelings, and that's the thing that I don't understand, but it feels like WRU is committed to not internalizing. Is that it, at least, and I think it's probably the same in men, but I'm just saying it for women because I know for sure, but like any little bits of news will get a little bit of fire going. That's like how social media works. You don't have to have everything all in a row, but like look at what the other two nations are doing. Even if it's just piece by piece, even if it's just, here's the wider squad. Here's a little 15-second video of them throwing a ball. I don't care. It looks like you're doing something. And to me, I assume you're way far ahead of my team who doesn't put out anything.
Yeah.
And now
there's no strategy. There's no strategy.
But there's no excuse to have no strategy. No. We've had the exact same the opportunities, the same monetary commitment from that big pot of money. We have teams around us we could cheat off of. I'm sorry. You don't have to be a genius to strategize all the time. You can cheat.
No, I agree. I just think it needs a bit of organization, and that I don't think they have any organization.
Actually, Beck will get to it all right.
I was going to say, I genuinely don't think
he's cleaning the bins.
Right.
I was going to say, I don't think they gave Ashley Beck an assistant.
He's got to cook a dinner for 10
He's
people.
He's also got to make the goddamn shakes. He's doing the nutrition.
He's cleaning the seats in the stadium.
He's doing the kit laundry.
So, right. So
the other part of Scarlett's
I apologize again.
Actually,
so,
I'm so
he's
sorry.
got to go and do the grounds work
yeah,
as well.
He's got to water
He's also the grounds work.
He's got to mow the lawn at Ystrad Manor.
Yeah, okay,
and
so we're coming on to that. So we know that Brython Thunder...
And Sean will be our reporter on the ground.
We know that Brython Thunder have played all the games at the park. As far as I'm concerned, Brython Thunder are Scarlet's women. That's just what I'm choosing to believe. That's my truth. They play...
If that's the truth, we could have Jazz and Alicia back. Sorry.
They wear red and they play internationally. So this sounds like the Scarlets to me. So that's
like
what
the Scarlets
they are.
To me. I'd love the 2018 Scarlets back with Jazz and Alicia.
Oh right, I thought sorry, the women's one. I'm sorry, because 2017 is the best Scarlets.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm learning as a new Scarlets fan, which I am since I became Hugh's friend.
Yay! Cool. That means we're 2-2 because these losers are Gwalia fans. So that's cool. Previously, Gwalia were playing at Cardiff Arms Park, and now they're playing at Ystrad Manor. So for people who aren't from Wales, Ystrad Manor is like Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, except in every way. So who can...
I wanted to hear this so bad. I waited just to hear this.
So come on, Sean, what's Ystrad Manor like?
I can't believe you've landed me with that question.
I need it so bad from Sean.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Be honest. It's our podcast. Lay it out.
It's the small place, isn't it? It's a small Billy type place, isn't it?
Is it a dump?
I can't say.
We've already had one podcast member of the Rap family cancelled for court for sitting on.
I don't want to get cancelled here. Look, I'm not. This is no slight on Ystrad Manor at all.
Lee,
We've been going on about this whatsoever. It's more the point of
Yes.
1 minute you're playing at Cardiff Arms Park, which is,
The
sorry,
dream.
probably
There's
one
the
of the
road-
most famous grounds in the whole wide world in rugby.
They call it the road to cap. Come on.
Exactly, right? And then the next minute you're playing in Ystrad Manor. I mean, they have got a good setup up there. I've kind of researched it a little bit. They've got the Sporting Excellence Centre of Sporting Excellence up there. I think Dragons train there.
Yep.
It does look like
that's not too bad.
decent. It's decent
That's not
facilities
bad.
up there, to be fair.
They played a Challenge Cup
Um,
game that came there once, I think. There's something up with Ronnie
They played
Parade.
Challenge Cup there once, and I'm pretty sure they
Oh,
played.
yes.
They had a fixture moved to their. I think they're playing Edinburgh when Richard Cockerell was the head coach, and he basically compared it to a Regional 1 South game, which is like division, which is like the
Sean is
seventh level of
calculating.
rugby in
Sean is
England.
calculating. I love it when she gets into this mode. No, tell us the exact month and year. I know you. You know it.
I do vaguely remember that. But like, yeah, it's not Cardiff Arms Park.
Come on, man. That's what
And it's the whole randomness of it. Like they literally, I think it was still on the website, the Gwalia website. If you go on there, they play their games out of Cardiff Arms Park, and like,
yes.
and suddenly
Well,
they're
on
playing
the
it in
Celtic
Ystrad
Challenge
Manor.
website, it says that, yes.
So, Harley, what's the
Yeah,
betting
sorry, the
that
Celtic.
someone at Cardiff Athletics Club found out there were women on the premises and took steps to prevent that from happening?
I don't think it's
No,
that. I think
they
it
were
might be part of Cardiff.
CAC are a modern organisation. They just didn't like the fact they weren't called Cardiff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Cardiff putting a
I
fingers
do
up
want the
WA.
Cardiff contingent to dump all out on this. Let's go. Let's go to Cardiffs. Let's go. No, I wanted the dirt
They
so
weren't
bad.
playing
So
in blue and black, and they weren't called Cardiff. Therefore, they can't play at CAP.
Yeah. So, I don't think Ystrad Manor is
That bad.
unpleasant. I think it's modern enough. I think it's suitable for
It's
playing.
no, they're good. It's good facilities there, definitely.
Yeah, it's nice facility. It's just like you said, it's
What a
not.
downgrade. It's a downgrade.
It's a 500 seater stand. It's not like, I don't know. It's just the whole thing was weird.
It's
And
not the
see,
Park
knowing
of
it
Scarlets of the
properly,
East.
Well,
if they
knowing
announced it properly and they'd kind of had a proper press release saying, "Oh, we've decided we're going to base out of here because of this reason, we've actually got really good facilities here. It's better for our players. It's easier for them to train
Exactly.
from there. Blah blah blah." You can put any bullshit you like, but there was nothing. They just kind of suddenly said, "No," they didn't even say. They just announced that the fixtures were there.
exactly because all I'm picking up from you is that there are so many ways you could have spun that in a way that, I mean, there's so many PR ways you could have spun it to make
Yes.
it at least, to put a little bit of shine on it a little bit. But instead, all you get, because and it's actually really interesting that you correctly introduced it about, let's tell people who aren't Welsh about this institution. I have no idea about it. And it did sound to me, because of course, as a non-Welsh person, I had to be like, what is this? And look it up. And all that occurred to me is I was just like, this is a massive downgrade. And it suggests to me that you expect that you won't get crowds, which I don't want to hear.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if you know for a fact there won't be, fake it. That's what half of sports is.
Yeah. The Celtic Challenge this year, so this is technically the third iteration of the Celtic Challenge, and it is like a proper league this year. So it was kind of a bit like oh crap, we better do some women's rugby. I don't know, do that. But now this year it's like, oh no, we've got teams and we're going to do a league. So it's a proper round robin. Everyone plays each other twice.
It would be silly not to in knowing that a World Cup year is coming up. That would be such a waste not to.
Yeah, and it's kind of a build up to the Six Nations. With regards to the Karen Lake thing, the way they announced it, the way that the WRU announced it, kind of bugged me a little bit. It was kind of see, we told you we'd bring some women's players back to Wales. Like, okay, this one that was out of contract at Gloucester. I'm sorry, Karen.
No,
I
agree
choice.
100%.
It also, by the way, when that was announced, it sounded like it was by choice. And Karen put out a statement, and she said that she's doing this. She's saying she's doing it specifically to focus on 2025.
Which was game time for the World Cup.
So that I was like, oh, absolutely, that makes sense. And there's such an easy way for the Welsh Celtic Challenge teams to have played that, to just be like, we are a really great place where if you want to up your game, and wherever you are playing, whether it be in the PWR or elsewhere, if you are Welsh and Welsh qualified, this is a place where you can come get game time. You can come and up your game. This isn't a consolation league. And it's not. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, looking at some of the other squads then around the Celtic Challenge and the Irish and the Scottish, who's catching your eye? Who do you think of favourites for it? It was won by
Boy.
Wolfhounds last season, which is the Ulster-Leinster mishmash in Ireland. Edinburgh were quite good last year as well.
Yeah, I think the both
They're the
Scottish
runners-up.
squads look strong to me.
Look really strong.
Yeah.
Yet again, just like last year, it seems preliminarily like Scotland definitely has
Up their game, I think.
Yeah, has upped the most. It seems like they've really and we've had this conversation with friend of the pod, Leslie. What up, Leslie? We've talked a little bit about this, just kind of from pod to pod or whatever, about the commitment of SRU, especially in contrast to WRU. And I mean, there's nothing new really to say, but the contrast is really stark again. And I mean, I already know who's in both squads already. Come on.
I just love the way the Scottish Rugby Union, when they announced the squads and they starred the academy supported players as well, which I thought was kind of really cool. There's little details which I really like, but it shows that they are thinking about those details.
Exactly, and they put how many appearances in the last Celtic Challenge, so you could see how many new people they had brought in, which is really exciting.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really cool stuff like that. We love this shit.
It's really easy. Well, it's really easy, and rugby, and we've talked about this as well. Rugby is a nerdy sport. We love our stats. I mean, probably all sports are, but we are really a stats people. I've got the stats guy here.
But I was quite excited to see Aoife Wafers in the Wolfhound squad again.
Yeah, which is awesome. Gonna be a disaster. Which is going to be a disaster for us.
Awesome, apart from when we're playing them, obviously.
I mean, honestly, she is just so awesome. But what a really good way that you can market this.
Yeah.
Great advertisement for the game.
Exactly.
To say that you can,
because let's be real, she's going to look amazing.
You can be elite. You can be a player of. Yeah, you could be a player of the year nominee. You could be a player of the year nominee, and then you can come and play in the Celtic Challenge. That is such a great advertisement.
I know.
And it's free.
Like, you literally could pull people in with that, surely. Like, come on, with the right sort of marketing.
But especially when you consider Ireland as a sporting nation versus Wales as a sporting nation, and the willingness to jump in and stand behind rugby in Wales versus in Ireland, if they are getting this kind of like support and like jazz behind them and everything, and our complaint is like, we can't get any money, like nobody wants to play for us, probably because like we have a bunch of people who abuse them all the time in their contract negotiations. But other than that, people don't want to play for us. Why can't we retain players? Why can't we field enough to have a domestic elite competition for women? Give them something to aim for and they'll probably come. Ireland.
Yeah. Like whoever's doing clips, assuming they've got somebody who does clips for the Wolfhounds, let's be real, Aoife Wave is going to absolutely destroy the Celtic Challenge, and there's going to be the highlights reels every single game will be going mad, and the Irish rugby public is pretty into the women's team because they're really good, by the way.
Yeah. And they certainly should be.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's really
can I
not.
Just make the joke though with Aoife Wafer.
Please.
Yes, she's brilliant, but can she do it on a March weekend in Istramonach?
But she's never done it in South Africa.
So. Yeah, where's the full World Cups exactly?
All right. I've never seen you do it on a tour of the Southern Hemisphere.
Okay, all right. Other bit of news about the Celtic Challenge is that it's on iPlayer for people in the UK. So the Scottish games were on BBC Alba already.
We maintain that Sean did this.
Yeah, it was Sean's idea.
This pod, we maintain that Sean was the main driver behind it. She's a tastemaker at the BBC. When she's not like fixing the website, she's writing the content, baby. She sends me pictures all the time about stories she writes about my favorite players to be nice to me.
So that's cool. It's on iPlayer. To be fair, Rugby Pass TV has gotten better in the last 12 months. It's gotten functional, things like that.
I am the Rugby Pass defender.
It's all right, isn't it? Rugby Pass. It's all right.
It really is. So I didn't know until you guys were telling me, actually. I didn't know that it was so bad there. We are sent content heavily. All of the sevens is on Rugby Pass TV for US and Canada. All of the Celtic Challenge is all Rugby Pass. And
I watched I watched the Japan Uruguay match on it, and the commentators on there one sounded like he was doing it from a corridor.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was really funny.
It was so
the thing
funny.
is
And the other guy, oh my
Take
God,
the-
the stuff he was coming out with. When they were kicking like conversions, he was like, and boot hits leather. Like
Yeah, they had American
magical.
commentators on Japan versus Uruguay, and the game was being played in
Listen, we are
France. I was
cheap.
like, what is
It was
this?
like
What
the-
am I
it was
We
like
are
the
cheap
Beano.
and available.
It was like
Americans, Americans who know rugby enough to commentate on it, we are cheap and we are available.
I love it. I want them to commentate
Is
my
that
life.
you throwing your hat in the ring to do commentary?
Folks.
Pat?
I'm doing my bit later
Sorry,
where
we
you'll hear me talk
digress.
all about how much I love American rugby
Don't say,
players who
the
are playing in
MLR,
PWR.
the guys who do the commentary on the MLR are literally my favourite bit about the whole competition because I just think they're brilliant.
Wait. So you watch MLR? So you must know my buddy Wendy, who's also an MLR announcer. Wendy Young, who runs Scrum Half Connection. So
Yeah, YC. Yeah, I've done a pod with Wendy actually years ago. Back on Rock and Roll. Yeah,
Hey!
excellent. She schooled me quite a lot on
Yeah.
rugby. It was actually the thing that kickstarted my passion.
Yeah.
Hey, that makes me so happy.
If you want fun North American commentary, the Vancouver Highlanders games are still on YouTube.
Oh my God.
And
They happened.
You're never going to get him off this.
Yeah,
You're
and
never gonna get him.
My
it was like
favorite
two
team.
guys. It was so funny.
This is his
Oh
Roman
my God.
Empire.
It
His
was
Roman
so-
Empire is
like, it was
Vancouver
two
rugby.
Canadian chaps having a bit of a chat, and they were just like
it's their first time seeing rugby, and they have thoughts.
it was so funny. Oh my God! No, please watch it. Like the full 80 is
Why
up.
did you never
and
send me the links to this?
How did you
it's on
not drop
YouTube.
this in the
Search
chat?
Vancouver Highlanders on YouTube. It comes up.
Okay,
Um,
so when you
There's
search
too
Search
much rugby. I
Vancouver
need to be
Highlanders,
sent these things.
no, when you search Vancouver Highlanders, first of all, you get three three hockey channels, and then you get
So they were having a bit of a chat, and obviously it was very like village fatey, and they were just having a bit of a chat basically. And my favorite bit was when they go there's a bit of a lull, and then one of the commentators turns to the other and goes, "You know, they saw a bear on the ground the other day."
Right, you told me.
They saw a bear on the ground.
Listen, that's
Is
a
it
very
there?
Canadian conversation.
And then one of them goes, apparently they asked the bear if he fancied a game, and the bear said no. So,
I don't know.
so
They let you say
That's so
anything.
funny.
They'll just let you say
but there's
anything.
multiple games up there because they played
There are
they
multiple
played-
games, and they were bad in all
they
of
played
them.
Germany. I think they might have played Belgium. They played Barbados. I think the
played
first game they played
Germany?
was
Oh my God.
Barbados. It's all there.
Germany.
It's all there. It's really
Alright.
it was great.
Ah.
In fact, I mean, it might still be in my DMs to you, Julio. I did a.
You did.
I'll look it up.
So
I think I only made it through the
So
first half. And then I
when
actually
he realized that he had a North American friend, we dove in.
Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, before we just move on, I just want to say I genuinely am a Brython Thunder fan. I got really into it last year, and we
I am
talked about
too.
it on the Scarlet's fan pod. And
I'm a fan.
like, I was thinking, believe it or not, my favorite kind of content to make is like rugby edits to music. There's just two things that I really like, and it's the most fun to watch. It doesn't get very many views at all, but it's the most enjoyable, and like getting kicks of the ball to sync to drums and things is really fun.
Yes.
And I had the idea to make a Brython Thunder compilation to Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and I got really excited by that idea, but I genuinely don't know if any Brython Thunder content actually exists in the internet for me to find.
That's actually a really good question.
So if it does, I'll find it. I'll probably be in trouble for not making one for Gwalia, but someone else can make one for Gwalia.
You can teach me the video editing. I'll try it.
Just do it on
'Cause we-
TikTok.
we were-
TikTok's
we
basically
did like.
yeah.
I'm
Learn
trying
how
to
to use
think of a good
TikTok.
song
TikTok
with
will do it for
lightning
you,
in it, but
basically.
I know I'm gonna
I'm
think of
too
one.
old for that.
TikTok's really good actually editing software.
It
Weirdly.
is pretty good.
I've
Yeah,
actually heard.
it is.
Crazy.
that-
That's
is that
crazy, but
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing.
Right. PWR check-in then. So obviously there has been women's club rugby happening, and there is quite a lot of Welsh women playing in the PWR. In fact, all of them. In fact, so we are how many games in now? 7 or 8 games in, depending on.
There were
What's
some
happening?
postponed, weren't there, last
Yeah,
weekend?
because it was raining or
Yes,
something.
week 9 was last week, and I know because I'm losing at fantasy.
Yeah. So currently Exeter redacted atop, and which is weird because Gloucester Hartpury are not top, which is unusual. So that kind of adds credence to their coaches leaving because their performance has dropped. Therefore, the coach must be leaving. They've lost 3 games, including games at home. So, what's the PWR been like so far, guys? For the people who watch it,
it's great. I don't. It's great when the same team doesn't win over and over. First of all, second of all, yet again, the quality has really jumped. It's fantastic. I know we're about to touch on some talent that has been brought into the game, some that has debuted already, some that hasn't. I think it's a really attractive product, to be honest. There have been, I'm gonna let Sean go because I've been talking too much, but there've been some postponements, but otherwise, it's been a pretty great season, especially if you're a Bears fan, ladies,
and if you're a Harlequins fan.
And if you're a Quins fan,
Quins are going really well.
By the way, everybody will hate, pod fans will hate to hear. We're some budding Quins fans.
We are loving Quins this year.
They're really killing it. Fan. They're killing it.
I can't help it. I thought the same. Can't help it.
Come on. They're so lovable, except for one notable exception. They're so lovable.
They do social media really good.
They really
oh, their socials are so good.
They do give Bristol. They're the only ones to give Bristol a real run for their money. Although there was a meme war, which we'll talk about more.
Oh my god, yes, the meme war was amazing.
We will that. The meme war was fantastic. We're going to talk about that in one sec. And I will also say, just putting it in there, of all the PWR teams, by far, Quins has the absolute best relations with the LGBTQ community, and their supporters club is, in my opinion, the best in world rugby. Their club is by far the most inclusive. They are very strict against the various phobes, which I love. Quinn shout out the LGBTQ organization there. I love your work. I think it's great. I love seeing protect trans kids in rugby. Awesome. Keep going. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go
on. So who's the Welsh players who are playing well then in the Pro League?
I've heard some good things about Alex Callender.
Yeah,
I don't.
You may have.
Did anybody hear this? Is anybody hearing this? Who?
Sorry,
whom?
Pretty much all of the Welsh players at Quins are going well.
Yeah,
all the Welsh players are going well. To be honest,
all the Welsh players are going well.
All the Welsh players are playing really well. Yeah, hands down.
Gloucester Hartpury for sure is leaning heavily on them this season, which we're loving as Wales fans. But I mean,
it's because their coach is getting to know who's coaching in 6 months' time.
Oh god,
that's exactly what it is. And that, by the way, you asked why they aren't placing where they usually place, and now that you say it, it's because he's thinking about that other team he wants to coach.
Don't raise my hopes.
I know. It's giving me mental illness.
He's looking at a bungalow.
There's no chance that he's coming. Like, I don't know why Sean and I are doing this for ourselves. No, there's no chance that he's coming, but he is a fantastic coach. And, well, isn't that nice?
If we were to pick the Welsh team tomorrow from PWR form, you would think Wales would have a good chance from you. I would pick all of the Quins players because they're all playing really well, like Lisa Neumann on the wing.
Neumann is having a better time this year than I think she has in several years, which I feel like is really honestly a testament
it's really
to how she was coached before. It's wonderful to see. I'm so thrilled.
She's smashing it. Absolutely smashing it.
Absolutely. And it really just kind of speaks to what may or may not have been hampered. But this is all hindsight and it's not really useful, but it makes you wonder what else was squandered.
We found out, well, Julia found out that Kira Bevan's injured, which was awful news.
Yes, it is. So Hannah arm in a cast actually, and while we're talking about it, just because it was so I don't even know how to explain it. Meg Webb has retired from international rugby. I
literally only found out about an hour before.
About an hour ago.
Recorded.
Yes, so it was completely not announced by neither Wales nor Bears. We only found out from a Holly Aitchison Instagram story, and then Kira posted later, and Kira was in her cast. But yes, friend of the pod, Rich Bevan. Yes, I am lucky enough that he trusts me to let me DM him. And I did reach out. She has a fractured left forearm. But the comeback is looking like mid-January. It's not too bad.
Which is
It's not
good.
in a hard cast. Yep, not in a hard cast. Looks like we're hoping, a quick rebound. We all remember the horror of Georgia's break, and luckily it wasn't like that, which was my initial concern when I found out what the injury was. Actually, Chloe Rowley also had the same injury. But yeah, so we know all about that. But yeah,
The Meg
mean-
Webb thing took me. Yeah, I was quite surprised by that, and also I'm a little bit gutted. Like,
what a loss.
I'm gutted too.
what huge
What a loss.
talent, and she's been wasted the last year.
I was going to say,
She should have been in the Welsh team.
In a position we couldn't have afforded to
Exactly. It's quite
waste her.
frustrating.
And again, because this was so undercovered, I mean, not covered at all, but this is all speculation, but it would be very fair to speculate that it was probably mismanagement. She has a nursing degree, which we found out. She's going back to nursing full time. That's a job where people are nice to you and probably don't bully you about your employment contract before they don't play you and they don't take you to WXV. Well, no, so they bullied her about her contract, and then they left her in Bristol for WXV, where they ended up actually needing her. So don't you look foolish?
Oh yeah, but the NHS.
Yeah,
I know many stories I will not go into on this podcast.
Oh no, absolutely. I think rugby players like pain. That's what I'll say.
No, I do think
the NHS.
We don't know the full story with Meg Webb, why she's retired. But it does feel like
what
a shame.
waste.
Yeah.
And I know I just said it, but at a position that we really need some help. That said, once we finally get the rosters from Celtic Challenge, we'll know a little bit more about what's coming down the pike. That is where we shop a lot of our seniors from. So.
Is Kaylee Powell playing 10 for Quins?
Yes.
Exciting.
It rules.
And she's doing really well.
It rules. She's doing so well.
It's amazing.
Oh my God.
She wasn't going to fit in at 15 there, so. Because, there's only enough for one ego. There's only enough for one ego.
And when you think ego, you don't think Kaylee Powell. Sorry. KP, you are one of the humblest people we know. Sorry, you can't beat that ego.
This wasn't anything
so
about KP.
I'm also enjoying
the
weekly Bears tweets.
Remember 2 years ago, I was the one who said I'm going to jam an EpiPen into my leg and I'm going to start KP at 10 and we're going to beat France. And I think I'm right.
Okay. I'm enjoying the weekly Bristol Bears Jazz Joyce is taking the piss tweets. I'm enjoying that. That's coming up a lot. Like, here's a clip of Jazz Joyce running past literally 30 people. And scoring all the tries.
I
think she is grudgingly enjoying the
front row just to win scrum penalties for fun.
Yeah,
she's just in that sort of form where I think she could literally do anything.
I think she's just fucking around. Yeah. I would too. If I had her just natural athletic prowess, I would just dick around. No, I'd see what I could do. When I have the kind of senior position that I would have on the Bears.
Do you find it weird though that Bears, they've got really good social media, and they are one of the best, but then they seem quite rubbish at like press releases on sort of standard stuff like, oh, Kira Bevan's out injured, or
right. So segue.
Oh, sorry.
Segue into the next bit of this show. So welcome everybody to the reason you clicked on the thumbnail.
We know.
So there has been a recruitment at I Will Die for These Bears, and it is one Ilona Maher.
I can't. I don't know.
I don't know how to
she is.
Mar. No, I just looked it up. It's Mar.
Apparently, she's more famous than any other rugby player.
Than Elvis?
Okay.
More famous than Sia Khaleesi?
She's more famous than Sia Khaleesi, apparently.
No
according
way.
to like the number of people who have heard of her is apparently more than any other rugby player. Okay, so, and she's here in Bristol now. The most famous rugby player in the world.
I'm so excited.
Lives in Bristol. So, Julia has thoughts. And she is very keen to share those thoughts. So Julia will now present to you for your entertainment how to watch Ilona Maher play for Bristol for dummies. Over to you, Julia.
What's up, Bears fans? Welcome to everybody who is a new Bears fan. For Ilona Maher, we're super excited to have her. I know if you are a longer term follower or fan of mine, you may think that I'm not excited about this, but that's not entirely true. The Bears is a fantastic team. We're super stoked to have Ilona, but there are a few things. She's a sevens player crossing over to 15s, which she's explained in a recent video, which is awesome. She gave a really great explainer. She may or may not debut on January 5th. We're hoping she does, but here's something to remember. She's playing on the wing, which is a backs position. They don't get substituted as often as others, so we'll see. But all of that is to say, here in America, it's a little bit harder to watch PWR. It's actually really hard for anybody to watch PWR, and we've already seen that the Ilona effect has pushed more games onto streaming platforms, whether it be YouTube or the TNT deal, which if you've seen older episodes of this pod or several other women's rugby pods, we've all had the same complaints about the lack of availability for live streaming for PWR matches in general, especially for the audiences that they've been generating. So we're hoping maybe in the new year there will be more availability, but the main things that I would recommend to you if you are looking to watch Ilona Maher are, first of all, always checking the PWR social channels. They'll always tell you which is the match of the week. And the way that you watch that is by subscribing to the Rugby Network. If possible, I'm not sure, but if possible, we'll put a link somewhere. The initial subscription to the service is free. I believe that you do, I pay for it because I watch a few different competitions, but I believe that you do have to pay for it to see the PWR match of the week, the same way that you do for the men's. Don't worry. It's not that big a cost, but there is a little bit of cost there. And just as a note, you won't see each match of the week listed until just a little bit before the broadcasting time. We're hoping that the Ilona effect also fixes that on the Rugby Network. But if not, fear not. If you check either the PWR socials or if you check the Bristol Bears women's socials, you'll find out about airing time and everything. And just remember that everything you see will be in UK time. So other than that, that's how you'll watch her in the beginning. Since there's only one match a week, several PWR clubs have started their own YouTube channels or YouTube channels that are affiliated with their men's side. They will also stream. You'll also find that out from either their own socials or the PWR socials themselves. So all of that is to say, it's a little bit hard to find her in the beginning. Hopefully, as time goes on, while she's spending her tenure at the Bears, hopefully the communication will get better. But otherwise, the best way is to always go to the Bears socials or to my socials, where I'll always be telling you where to watch. And if you need a link, I can always help you. But we're hoping that this movement forward and the excitement around Ilona, because we are super excited whenever she gets to make her debut. Yeah, we're hoping it pushes it forward and pushes women's rugby forward in general in the UK League.
Well, hey, fantastic. Thank you. Claps for everybody. Thank you, Julia. That was very, very good. Thank you. I shall clip that up and put that out as its own separate thing. So, yeah. So, to your point then, so Bristol Bears, I will die for these Bears, are not currently
die for these Bears.
Are not currently one of the teams that streams on YouTube. They seem to be hinting that they are going to make streaming of their games available. It's
That
a
is the
bit
rumor I'm hearing.
disappointing that they haven't kind of got that sussed before they announced Ilona, isn't it?
It is. So it is frustrating. And here's the other thing, and this is a little bit getting back into our regular nitty-gritty about the rugby, but it's actually really frustrating because the availability for either of the Bristol Bears, but either the men or the women, has always been a little bit hard, and especially getting footage. And so from what I've heard from entirely gossip channels, to be fair, but people who are connected with the club, I'm lucky enough to be friends with some of them who both work in the office or in the coaching staff. And from what I understand is there is at least a little bit of pushback from the places that they play, both Shaftesbury Park and Ashton Gate. Ashton Gate is where you guys will see the January 5th match. We're hoping that this swell makes it so they can play there more, but it's a giant stadium. They usually play at Shaftesbury Park. Both of them have restrictions, as far as I understand, on filming, because I did ask, why can't you just like set up a training? I forget what the training cameras are called, but the training cameras that some like trail finders sometimes streams from. It's not ideal, but it's a way to watch the match. We've kind of asked why that can't be the case, and it all kind of is like shrugs and kind of like, well, they say we can't. So maybe this will shame Ashton Gate into doing it. What's up, Ashton Gate, friend of the pod?
Yeah, that'd be
I
cool.
think didn't
So,
didn't the
go on.
Bears announce that they were had a vacancy for social media? What was it? Was it I can't remember which. I think it might have been one of the specific socials, wasn't it? But it
Interesting
was
you
for
say,
3 months. For the
interesting
time
you
that
say
she-
that.
that
They
Ilona's gonna be
literally
there.
so that's absolutely correct. And they did say that it was specifically for 3 months, and they haven't mentioned it once since. So my personal guess is that they probably got a lot of pushback on that this seems kind of exploitative, which it does. Very few people who are working people and who don't already have another source of income can just do a 3-month job. It's hard for a freelancer, and of course the people who have the most availability are usually the ones who don't have the most experience. So people who can pick up a periodic job like that, there are a lot of implications. I haven't seen anything since. They did kind of frame it as like a social media person for Ilona, which looks really bad. At least fake it. Just lie. I don't know. Like, organizations lie all the time. No, whatever. So and our friends that we talked about, or our friends that we talked to offline, suggested this may just be for like a TV thing or like a social media series. I worry that that's the case, but if you're coming out straight out the gate in a job listing and being like, this is until she leaves,
Yeah, so
I'm just gonna let people in for what they do.
So the 3-month thing is interesting because one of the things that for me the most interesting angle on this has been the positional debate, and I do think it's genuinely interesting, from a rugby point of view. And yes, acknowledging that in order for her to play in this team, she will have to have replaced a player that is already doing very well. I would die for these Bears.
Which I would die for these Bears. And by the way, in fairness to Bears fans, remember Begg just retired. Renika Bonner is off at the sevens. It looks like Emma Orr might be injured. That might be.
It's interesting you mentioned that though, because that does actually change the dynamic.
Yes, it does.
But
I didn't think about Renika.
I
didn't think about Renika until the other day. And yes, there is a big hole. I mean, I don't think that she's ever going to replace Millie David, and I don't think she's ever going to replace Jazz. But you need more.
Well, Jazz will play 15 anyway, and Ilona's never going to play 15. So
we've got good 15s too.
Yeah. So the positions that are being touted is wing, where she's played before. There's centre, and there's number 8. And she herself has spoken about playing number 8. Now, if she'd signed for 3 years instead of 3 months, then I think it would be really interesting, and I can imagine a coach being really excited by that prospect.
She's spoken about playing at wing, not at 8.
No, she spoke about there was an interview where she did speak about playing at 8.
She did talk about it, but this is a little while ago.
I was like, that was specifically about playing against Sophie de Goody, which she couldn't.
No. She did say it. She got asked because she said she wanted to learn how to jump in lineouts and stuff.
Also, very interestingly,
okay.
USA Eagle prospective teammate Hope Rogers has also said that, because she was asked a question again through the Brilliant Power Pod. The one question thing, and Hope Rogers said that she thinks if she was going to come to the X to cheat, and it was, if you're going to be on your teammate, what position? She said, I think it'd be a brilliant number 8.
Really? That is so interesting. We can't go off on that, but that's Hope Rogers suggesting that her own USA teammate be replaced because Rachel Johnson is the 8 at Exeter. That's fine. That's super interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that off pod.
I mean, there's nothing.
I love Rachel Johnson. Are you insane?
Players in one position.
Rachel Johnson. Oh well, Kate Zachary left, but
I'd be kind of interested.
He will absolutely not be playing 8 for USA. I promise. Not Kate Zachary or Rachel.
3 months isn't really enough to make her a bit of a project player. Now we have seen
a good wing.
We have seen, examples. All my references are from the men's game, so apologies for that. But there are examples of maybe not always sevens players. There's some sevens players, but like league players coming across and making good centers and things like that. I think inside center could be an option for her. But like I said, only 3 months. It's, to put it politely, she can mess up less on the wing.
She said the same. In her defense, she said the same. She was like, wing is where you go to learn, which is true, which is correct. And that's the daughter of a rugby coach.
It can be a position where you might not get much of the ball.
Sure. But we put Jazz on the wing.
Yeah,
No,
she
I
didn't touch the
know.
ball, so we moved
But
to
she
fullback.
I know.
No,
I'm just saying,
Piers
but I'm
she
saying
does, to be
sometimes
fair.
sometimes your best has to be out there, because when you need the best, when it gets all the way out wide. you want
I mean,
best.
there's a Mason Grady analogy here somewhere about how Cardiff used Mason Grady and how Ilona Maher could be used. It's a bit, I don't know. I think if you're going to use them like that, use them at centre. Although
Just move them.
again, to the Mason Grady comparison, that didn't work.
Just move them.
So
Oh, I agree. I completely agree.
so like I said, if she was there for 3 years, it would be really interesting to see what a coach would try and do with her. Some people have used the Sam Burgess analogy, which, if you're a women's rugby fan and you don't know what happened with Sam Burgess, just take my word for it, it didn't end well.
That's what I was told when I
Andy
asked.
Farrell as well had
Oh,
some
yes, I
interesting
forgot about
results as well.
Yes, Andy Farrell, yeah.
So
Well,
He played the position that was more like a flanker in league, and then got sort of shifted into.
That didn't end well, did it?
We do have to a lesser extent a women's analog, and it's on her own team that she might end up playing for, and it's Alev Kelter, who is, I believe, America's truest crossover, but she is very, very staunchly a center in 15s. There's very little movement in terms of what works, but I do feel that speaks to, there's probably teachability there. There's probably a lot of moldability, but it's what Harley said. It's 3 months.
He doesn't just have enough games as well.
Why 3 months? Like, I don't know. Like,
because that's between January and when the season ends.
Yeah,
I know, but
that's the problem. Is it's because
really
the season's so short.
No,
she really wanted to be in the World Cup, right? She wouldn't have
done Dancing with the Stars.
She wouldn't have signed for that dancing
like everybody
show,
else did,
and just gone and immediately played 15s. I can't quite put together.
And so that is where the belief that I am an Ilona Maher hater came from. I just don't agree with that decision. I think that it was selfish.
I don't, from the point of view. I do. I want her to, if she wants to.
Oh,
do
sure,
dancing,
but I think that
I like go for it. Like, I really want her to do whatever she wants, but it's kind of like, also, if you want to play 15s in the World Cup, that to me doesn't. It doesn't match. It doesn't go together.
It doesn't, especially when you compare to, for example, Alev Kelter, who has had our eye on this for several years and has always gone back and forth between 7s and 15s. But we can also look at Australia and New Zealand right now. There was just the announcement today that I think it's a little bit late. I'm surprised that it's happening now, but several of the Aussie 7s girls are now going to Super W. And in terms of New Zealand, from the beginning of Opiki season, it was a New Zealand rugby mandate that if you want to be considered at all for 25, you must play the entire Opiki season, and they did.
Yeah, that helps with the Southern Hemisphere season as well, though. So when it's timed.
True.
But yeah, the kind of excitable part of my rugby brain was kind of like, it'd be cool if she could play loads of positions, and then then USA Eagles could do a 7-1 split on the bench, and she could cover everywhere, and then just come on, we don't know where.
Calm down, Sophie DeGoody.
She could be the Quagga Smith, but more.
I'll be honest,
I don't think that's going to happen.
It does sound like what something me and Dan were joking about last night on Go Central with Jacob Beetham, but yeah. The one thing for me is she's got 3 months, not only to learn the position, learn the shapes in defence, attack, backfield coverage, so she's going to have to learn how to field it, which isn't something you really do in 7s. But
and the Bristol backfield is very complex.
Well, also Bristol don't believe in kicking.
Fit. That's the thing, because match fitness for Union for 15s is very different to your fitness levels for 7s, which is very different for your fitness for when you're doing ballroom and Latin dancing.
Which I love that she touched on.
They are different things. So so this isn't me saying she isn't fit, because clearly she is, and she could probably not exercise for 6 months and still be 20 times fitter than I am, but she's not rugby union fit. Like this is where
it's the conditioning, isn't it? That's what you. There's like a certain type of conditioning for union.
Well, that was what I really appreciated about the video that she put out, was that was one of the first things she said, because to a rugby mind, it is the first thing you think of, and that's why we read it. But she pointed out, she was like, I played like 14 minutes, and a lot of the time I'd only play a half. That's literally 7 minutes. Yes, it's 7 absolutely grueling minutes. I've played 7s literally one season. It was the worst thing of my life. It's the worst pain I've ever felt. I am extremely a front row. But I was young and I thought so. Yeah, I was 19. I was 19. I did not look like this. Still didn't work. But that said, but I was coming from being very much 80-minute fit for the front row. And then the fit to play in the forwards for 80 minutes or for even 60 minutes is different. The fit for playing, and by the way, if you're playing a rugby back in 15s, you better be ready for the 80 minutes. You shouldn't, unless you're hurt, you're probably not getting taken off.
Other than the 9 and the 10 usually, and maybe 1.
And she's not playing 9 or 10. I think those are some of the few positions that we can say conclusively Ilona will not be playing. I don't think she'll be playing scrub. Yeah.
Even Anton Dupont, when he's come back from sevens, is taking a minute to get back to 15's fitness, and his physique changed a lot between going from one to the other.
And we've spoken about Ellie Kildunn, and we know by her performances, even if she didn't talk about them herself, we know from the performances between the 15s to the Olympics back to the 15s, very different player.
Yeah. And to Dupont didn't play. This is where a bit of rugby revisionism comes in. Dupont came off the bench for France sevens in the Olympics. He did not play the full game, so that's kind of. But the big question is,
what Ilona did.
The big question is, does that mean that I can put both Ilona Maher and Anton Dupont in the thumbnail?
Yes. Oh my God, you're going to make so many people mad. Oh, here's what you need to do. You need to put them in the thumbnail, and then the thumbnail, it just needs to be goat.
Ooh.
Just put a picture of a goat on there.
The goat emoji. The goat emoji.
Or the title can be what Anton Dupont teaches us about Ilona Maher, or what
does Ilona teach?
What Ilona teaches us about Antoine Dupont. Oh, I'm not getting canceled today. It's not me, it's you.
Well, okay.
Should we move on to
there's an
Angus O'Brien? Are we moving on to Angus O'Brien?
One of the big bits of PWR news that's broken as well. Then if we've got if we think, which is obviously the boot
I think
deal.
we've exhausted it.
Because I think this is actually probably one of the big, I'd say even for men's game, even with respect to the men's game, this is actually quite a big thing. So obviously Canterbury have announced that they are going to give every player in the PWR 3 sets of boots. I've had a look, and there's been a bit more talk of it, and because I know one of the things Julie's worried about is, if you just get given a set of standard boots, then they don't necessarily fit women. But it seems like it's going to come with actual fitting advice.
Yeah,
and I think
which is
Ellie
very
Kilden,
encouraging.
recently said that when she was speaking to Canterbury, she basically said, the thing I don't like about your boots is they're not flash enough. So they started making more bright vibrant boots. I don't get this.
She must have a really normal foot.
I don't like the fact that my AstroTurf boots have 2 colours. I like a black boot, just black, boring.
Oh, no, I just...
You are such a boring
I love flashy colour running shoes. They make you run faster.
Oh my God. Okay, I was going to say, both of you are rugby brainwormed because you're a fucking fly half. Be quiet. Of course you like flashy boots. Of course you do. They do make you faster. They don't make me and Harley faster.
My favorite player.
I know.
My favorite player ever is Lee Halfpenny, and his boots literally had gold inlays in them. So I can't.
Oh my God. Oh, that's not great.
Yeah, but he was somehow humble with it because it's Lee Halfpenny, and it's not, and it's impossible to not like him. And he wore them for 3 games, and then his knee snapped in half.
But all of that was to say, while I'm not thrilled, I mean, I am thrilled, honestly. I think it's great. I think it was a very like easy piece of PR.
But it's the patriarchy, Julia.
But it is the patriarchy. That's the thing, though, is it is the patriarchy. But I am glad that it means that we get to have this conversation, because it's something that women's rugby players have talked about a lot. And honestly, to give them full credit, women's soccer players have really been on the warpath about this. But women's feet are just shaped different. It's not that we're smaller, it's that we have different, which is so much of the difference between women's and men's sports at all. So, it would be awesome if they had spoken to somebody other than Ellie Kildunn, but women need different things. That said, the whole fitting guide and everything, that's awesome. And if it puts them on a path to like making better women's stuff in the future, great, try this.
Yeah, I did see when they said the shoes are unisex, so I was like, you mean they're men's shoes but small?
They're men's shoes but small.
Basically.
And and I came from playing in that time, and Sean, you may or may not have had the same problem as I did, but I have very small feet for a person, an adult. And I had to wear youth for most of my rugby career, which was even worse. It definitely damaged my feet, like, permanently. If it
I
could
never
lead...
had that problem. I have huge feet.
See, you have huge
And
hands
huge
and huge
hands.
feet for
I know.
Can
for
we
a
swap?
freak. You're a little freak.
My
Little
tiny
rugby
hands and
freak.
feet.
Oh, see, there we go. See, it's a front row versus, or it's a forward versus back thing.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say.
But yes, I think,
Boots.
I think one thing as well is with the feet being different, it's one of those things, a lot of the business is done with men, so they think about men and they don't think about women. At least now, if they're going to be dealing with, if they're
Oh,
now
right,
going to have
what I was going to say.
branding.
Because as well, most of the women play on turf
On
pitches,
turf. Yep.
and there is
Yeah.
a school of thought that says that you should have specialized boots for that.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. You're right. I don't know enough about it, but I've
I
read
don't think
tell.
there hasn't been enough
I-
research into it, full stop.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Exactly. And I
Interesting.
mean, and without going all the way down this path, because I know we need to wrap up. But there have been discussions, at least, and I know that it's in the early stages of, like, serious research, but that playing surface perhaps has something to do with the ACL scourge in women's sports in general. But of course, soccer and rugby are the best ones to look at in terms of the data that you can get. And I really think that the boot is worth looking at.
I
In
kind of
that
hope, like,
context.
the more that women's sports is now, I mean, it's a lot more popular now than it's been in my whole lifetime, which is amazing. And I really hope it just kind of, the stuff like the equipment actually comes through for all sports, because I bore everyone with how much running I do, but the amount of times I've gone trying to find running kit or
Absolutely true.
running shoes, and you can't get the same selection in women's stuff, and it's really frustrating. And, like, you go into running shops and sports shops, and the women's
The men
section
have
is,
a
like,
whole
tiny.
wall.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, the men have a whole wall, all the women's stuff is tiny, like relatively tiny, but it's all like fashion stuff. And I was like, no, I actually want, like, kit for running in, not for, like, fashion. So it's stuff. I really hope that all of that kind of ripples through into.
I mean, it's-
Women
Women's
have
sport in
money too.
general.
People who make stuff. Women have money and they buy things. Like,
Well,
ugh.
yeah,
No,
but they
we
think
can
it's,
run
it's because they.
marathons.
Well,
It's 'cause
that
they've
We
gone
can
this
do
gender.
it these days.
that could be a whole other episode, honestly, because we've talked about it so
Yeah,
much in our
it
little
could be.
friendship chat. Well, no. I mean, there's a very fundamental truth, and that is, in general, but absolutely when it comes to apparel shopping, men or women spend the most money because women buy stuff for men and women buy stuff for themselves and women buy stuff for their kids. That's who's buying stuff. And so that is who is most in touch with the products and who is up to date with the most. And it is why women have going, like, how do we get cleats for us or boots for us? It wasn't going to come from men's boot making.
That makes me want to give my two anecdotes of doing research into women's rugby merch. Is that in the Gloucester Hartbury shop,
It made me think of you.
the Gloucester Hartbury shop, the women's section contains baby clothes, which I can't remember. I'm so sorry. The Scottish women's rugby account, can't remember her actual name. I'm so sorry. Said, not to brag, but I have more money than the average baby. And
Was it Scott Rugby Blog? Or
no,
yeah.
it was I can't remember
That's
her
a
name. I'm so
great
sorry.
routine.
I'll have to check. But
Whoever she is, she has more money than a baby.
yeah, and the Black Ferns women's rugby shop, which is a bespoke Black Ferns shop. Only the Red Roses and Black Ferns have bespoke
Correct.
shops for their women's teams. Has a toys section, but it's just jigsaws. Calm down.
Yeah, it's
I was
stocking
gonna- I was
stuffers
saying,
because the women stuff the stocking.
Yeah.
But I said this because this is the big concept. Again, it goes back to the patriarchy. But when you look at, like, if you go into like an actual normal retail shop, like the amount of times it'll be like a 4-story building and 3 floors will be for women, and then you've got the men's in the tiny corner next to all the homeware and all the children's stuff. And yet that's it. And then they've just gone, well, because men only want to buy sporting stuff, so they've got
Right.
and it's just like, just fucking sort of like, fuck's sake. Yeah, maybe I want some pretty man shoes, and Sean wants some good running sneakers. All right,
Exactly.
Can we spread it, please? I would like some pretty daps.
I saw a good Twitter joke just earlier today that was, I mean, it was a play on, the 3 products that they market to men, but I've got a husband who likes combing his beard, drinking whiskey, oiling his beard, wearing Star Wars replica clothing, and also trimming his beard. I have no idea what to get him. But that really is how it feels as a woman shopping for sporting stuff, where it's just like, oh, you think we like 3 things? That's what you're selling us. But now I understand. But now I understand how frustrating it is for dude shopping, and now I feel empathy. I'm sorry that they all think that you have beards that are really bad, and that they think that you need the beard oil.
True though, isn't it? Actually, now you mentioned it.
That's
sounds
all I
very
ever
weird.
see. Oh no, it is all I ever
Thing.
see. Is all I ever see is they would love these whiskey rocks.
I said the
quite
biggest
like whiskey.
thing for me is got to be the adverts in between TNT for ages, like, and it's all for this one company. It's Newman. Newman's the only person who's bought any space, and apparently all men need are marital aids, beard trimmers, and a prostate check, because
I was
that
going to
seems
say
to be the
they want
only
you to know
thing
you're
they're
not doing
interested in.
well.
Oh,
You are
and
not
bulk
doing well.
and to replace hair.
See, so you two are doing great
Yeah.
because of your good hair.
So we've
Yeah, you don't see the
what-
back though. To be fair, it's all just it's just
We
a
never
puzzle
see
piece.
Hugh
It's
without
like,
his
it's
hat
like
on,
a
to
block
be
of Lego.
fair.
I was going to say, Harley, it's not a comb over, it's a comb
I do
forward.
need another hat. What started off as our usual chaotic podcast has actually devolved into quite a highbrow conversation. So in order to bring it back to where it should be, what was your favorite meme from the meme war?
For me, it was definitely the exchange of the Bristol Bears and Exeter Chiefs.
Specifically, which one?
Making it about you.
Okay.
It was.
I think
it
you
was
just have to
when-
find the thread. Hugh,
Oh
'cause,
yeah, I will
yeah.
have to find the thread because I can't explain a picture.
Describe a meme. It's an audio format.
No, Exeter.
I mean,
and
this
Exeter
is good
had to
practice
delete it.
for doing alt text on images.
They
to be
made
fair.
they made Exeter delete it.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah, they made Exeter delete it because it was too mean.
No way.
Boo.
Which
Okay.
one? Hang
I
on,
mean,
which
that's
one
got
did
to be
they?
like the least mean and controversial thing about Exeter.
I know. Oh my god, I know, right?
Okay,
Which one
well,
did they?
here we go.
Which one did they delete?
There we go. Never mind. He found it.
Oh,
No, I found some.
have you found it?
They'll be
Okay.
scrolling.
You're better at
Okay,
Googling.
so
than I am.
I'm starting
Yes.
at the end. Till
Yes,
we've
here we go. This is it. This is it.
we've got Bernie Sanders.
Sorry.
Yes, this is it.
Bristol Bears be like, I am once again asking to be the centre of attention. And then we've got flipping heck, this is a nightmare for an
See?
audio.
This is audio. It's
Ilona-
terrible. It's
so
giving us-
Ilona-
This
Ilona
is the
Maher is
whisper
coming
in
to-
the. Sorry, I was going to say. Do you want me to describe
Whisper
the
in the ear
memes?
meme. Ilona Maher is yeah. Hugh describes memes. Ilona Maher comes-
Everyone hates it.
and then you've got the meme of the not interested, maybe interested woman going Bristol Bears
Kombucha.
signing Ilona Maher, realizing her first game is at Sandy Park.
Hmm.
I'd go.
Oh, here we go. That was my
Oh,
favorite.
great.
Sorry, that was
This
my
is a
favorite.
good one.
That was my
Yeah.
favorite. Was the drink.
Buying in USA international stars already having USA's finest.
Yes.
That was just the peak.
Remember Bristol
Also,
game.
yeah.
How
actually, you don't
come? I'm
actually
not
follow the
televising.
account.
Yeah, see, oh no,
My
go
tweet.
back. Go back. Who replied? Go back. Who
What?
replied?
What?
Go
What
back.
idiot replied to that tweet?
What
I'm gonna
idiot
go back to
replied
it.
to that tweet?
Yeah, what idiot? It did actually make me do a real
I
life
know, me
lol.
too. They were really killing it that day.
Few quotes. Oh no,
And
quotes.
Can I just say, my Twitter did appear in national news last week.
Oh yeah.
Exactly, it did.
You cancelled
If you
Sports
saw
Like
it, if you
I
saw
am
it, Sean
famous.
canceled Sports. Actually, that's a great way to wrap up because I do have to run to a meeting. But, friend and
I'm basically going to have
person
more
on the show.
followers than Ilona soon.
Sean is gonna have listeners from Wales might remember the Kermy hat. Me,
Brock Direct,
oh,
as I like to
Kermy,
now call them.
Kermy, I
Ah,
hope you play.
I've just been on Bristol Bears women thing, and the pregnant graphic is back.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Yes.
Oh,
So this is for people on they for some reason made a graphic which made it look like the player was pregnant. And it doesn't help that she's doing a weird lean.
Also doesn't help that it's Lucy Burgess, friend of the pod, Kaylee Powell's girlfriend. I choose to believe that Lucy Burgess is pregnant with Kaylee Powell's baby.
Do you know what? I'm going to let you
We're
go with that. I
also-
can explain to you why that doesn't happen, but
They gave him a PhD for that.
So that was
actually that's nothing to do with my research. But I know it's the thing.
I know.
It's
I was
something
trying to
do with,
give you. I was trying to help you with the bit.
Okay.
Sorry. No,
So
yeah.
what was the oh god, there is a lot of Ilona Maher content in this.
Wow. Bears fans must be tired of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I have to use that picture, add to photos.
Can we
that's good
wait till
thumbnail
we've ended
material.
the recording before you start adding your thumbnail collection?
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on.
Because
hang
Let's
on,
say
hang on.
goodbye to the friends.
This is boring radio, visual, and
Ah,
display.
I found it.
This is how the
Okay.
sausage is made, folks.
This is how. Okay, come on. No one listens past 10 minutes anyway.
Inside baseball.
Here we go. Get in there.
There,
and make
that's it.
up.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that's a
That's
great
the
one.
one. That's my favorite. Thank you. That was the one.
I actually
Get in there and
generally
make it
hate
about
it.
you.
I generally hate this meme, to be honest, because it's only.
Okay,
used
but
in-
I'm sorry. This was very funny.
Oh, I
Okay.
really enjoyed these meme wars.
I'm sorry. Like, Bristol Bears and
Can I
Exeter.
just say though, it would be so easy for the Exeter Chiefs women to just get rid of Don Armand's beard, and then you could almost pretend it was a woman. Just like, it would take no effort at all to make that. just to switch it up.
Hey, Harley, are you looking for a 3-month job?
Do you know what? Weirdly, the reason I joined a soulless company was because I got fed up of doing 3-month contracts
3 months
after
jobs.
3-month
Yes.
contract
Same.
because it destroys your soul.
Because it makes you want to die.
And on
that's
that
a
note,
tagline.
And on that
it's-
note,
it's time to end the
Like our
podcast.
podcast. It makes
So-
you want to die.
it
Thank
makes
you.
you want to die. Meet us next time.
Thank you for listening to Welsh Rugby's Most Cancelable podcast. We've had a great time, and we shall speak to you God knows when. Thanks.
Enough stuff.